All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to uncover the surprisingly simple science behind building habits that actually stick.
So have you ever wondered why almost nobody sticks to their New Year's resolutions? I mean, look at this number. Only 8% succeed. But get this, there's another method where a whopping 92% of people actually hit their goals. So what's going on here? What's their secret?
And this question, right here, it gets to the very heart of the problem. Because for years, we've all been told the same thing, right? Just try harder. You need more willpower. But what if that's completely wrong?
It turns out, the research is pretty clear on this. The problem isn't your motivation. It's not about how badly you want it. It's all about where you start.
Okay, so if we're not blaming willpower anymore, then what is the problem? Let's dive in and really look at the real enemy of making progress.
Well, it turns out the culprit has a name, and it's actually a concept borrowed from chemistry. It's called activation energy. And really, it's just the amount of mental and physical effort it takes to just, get going.
Think of it like this. It's like striking a match. You absolutely need that first initial burst of friction to get a flame. Without it, nothing. But once it's lit, that flame pretty much burns all on its own.
And this right here, this is a perfect example of how our brains see these things. The idea of writing a book just feels impossible, right? It's this huge, scary thing. But write one sentence? Well, anyone can do that. The barrier to entry is practically zero.
Okay, so that's the big question, isn't it? How do we crush that activation energy whenever we want?
Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, but don't let that fool you. It's an incredibly powerful tool called the 5-minute rule.
And it works like this. It's super simple. First, you pick just one habit. Then, you commit to doing it for only 5 minutes. Set a timer. And here's the key. When that timer goes off, then and only then do you decide if you want to keep going or just stop. No pressure.
See what this does? It completely reframes the entire game. The goal isn't to run a marathon or write a chapter. The goal is just to start. That's the win. You're not trying to succeed at the big thing. You're just succeeding at starting.
And what this does is it guarantees what some people call a no-zero day. And that's huge. It means that even on your absolute worst day, when you're tired, you're sick, you're just not feeling it, you still made progress. You didn't break the chain.
Okay, so starting is great, but how does this tiny little 5-minute trick build into something, well, life-changing? This is where we get into the really cool psychology of momentum.
It really all comes down to something called behavioral momentum. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's basically Newton's first law. An object in motion stays in motion, but applied directly to your brain.
And I'm not just making this up. Stanford research found that just starting a task, no matter how tiny, makes you 340% more likely to actually continue with it. 340%. That's insane.
So what's happening in your brain? Well, for one, something called the Zeigarnik effect kicks in. Basically, by starting something, you open a little loop in your brain. And our brains are just wired to hate open loops. They crave closure. They want to finish it. And at the same time, your brain's reward system gives you a little hit of that feel-good chemical, dopamine. And get this, it gives it to you just for starting, not for finishing. So your brain learns, hey, starting this thing feels good. Let's do it again. And finally, every time you do this, you're building something called efficacy beliefs. It's a fancy term, but all it really means is confidence. You're proving to yourself, over and over again, in tiny little ways, that you are the kind of person who follows through. And this chart just lays it all out. What's actually happening on a neurochemical level? When you look at a huge, traditional goal, your brain can see it as a threat. It releases cortisol, the stress hormone. But with these tiny micro-commitments, your brain sees no threat. It's easy. So instead, it gives you a dopamine reward. It's literally the difference between stress and reward. But this is more than just a cool productivity trick. It goes way deeper than that. This is about fundamentally shifting who you believe you are.
Because real lasting change, it doesn't come from what you achieve. It comes from who you believe you are. It's all about your identity.
There's this great quote from habits expert James Clear who says, "Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become." And that's the whole point. You're not just doing a habit. You are literally collecting evidence. So when you write for just 5 minutes, you're not just writing, you're casting a vote that says, I am a writer. When you go for a 5-minute walk, you're casting a vote that says, I am a healthy person.
And that, right there, that's the real hidden power of starting small. So, I guess the only question left to ask is, what 5 minutes you're going to vote with today?